Hi, everybody. A big weekend coming up on the Derby Watch Trail. Mike Watchmaker, the national handicapper with Daily Racing Form, joins me, Jay Privman, the national correspondent with Daily Racing Form, as we take a look at these big races coming up. And Mike, none bigger than the San Felipe Stakes, which will match Mackenzie, now the ante-post favorite on your Kentucky Derby future line, and Bolt d'Oro, the co-second choice on your future line, who will be making his first start of the year. Let's talk about these two heavyweights meeting up in the San Felipe.
I'm really looking forward to this race, Jay. It is by far to date the biggest prep for the Kentucky Derby, and it's going to be very interesting. We're going to see a horse of McKenzie who's not run against Bolt d'Oro yet, and you got a horse of Bolt d'Oro who's coming off a Breeders' Cup layoff, and that didn't work out so well for last week for Good Magic, and let's see how it works out for Bolt d'Oro. I mean, it's not like McKenzie just ran yesterday, though. I mean, he ran in early January. That was his last start. So he's kind of a fresh horse, too. One's a speed type, another's a horse that likes to stay a little bit off the pace. I think it's just going to be a fascinating race, and I hope, but it's supposed to clear up a lot of this Kentucky Derby picture.
Well, McKenzie, as you mentioned, making his first start since the Sham Stakes. This layoff was by design. He's trained extremely well coming into the San Felipe on Saturday. For Bolt d'Oro, a little more of a tumultuous winter. He was supposed to run in the San Vicente last month, but he had to skip that race when he missed some training time. There's been a change in jockey to Javier Castellano after Corey Nakatani got the boot. So a lot of tumult in that camp. What are your expectations for him off the layoff?
Well, I'd like to see him run better than Good Magic did in the Fountain of Youth, that's for sure. I mean, Bolt d'Oro is a very interesting horse because I don't think there was a better two-year-old performance last year than his win in the front runner, and that includes Good Magic's win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And I know a lot of people talked about the bad trip Bolt d'Oro had in the Breeders' Cup, and he did have a not-so-great trip in that race, but I also thought he took a significant step backwards form-wise off the front runner as well. So he's kind of a horse that's got these different characters about him, and I'd like to see him just put forward a really good, solid race. That's what I want from him if I'm a Bolt d'Oro fan, and I am a Bolt d'Oro fan. I think he's a very talented colt.
Mike, there's one other member of our Derby Watch Top 20 who's in the San Felipe, and that's Canthaka. He will be stretching out around 2 turns for the first time, and it's something that concerns me about him. He's kind of a deep, late-closing sprint type, and I'm not sure that he's going to have the same kind of punch going 2 turns. Are you as skeptical about that aspect of his form as I am?
Yes, Jay, we are in agreement about Canthaka, and not only that, he got a tremendous setup when he won the San Vicente. I mean, a complete pace collapse, and I just don't think he's going to get something like that in a 2-turn race like the San Felipe. Even if he's a horse that can get a middle distance going 2 turns, he's not. It's extremely unlikely he'll get a pace setup like he did in the San Vicente.
There's 2 other races that will be point-scoring races this weekend on the road to the Kentucky Derby. It's the Gotham Stakes. Now, we take this on Wednesday. Free Drop Billy is scheduled to run in that race, but he couldn't ship today owing to the weather. He's scheduled to ship on Thursday, but as a backup plan, he was also cross-entered in the Tampa Bay Derby, which we'll talk about in a moment. But Mike, circling back to the Gotham Stakes, this will be Free Drop Billy cutting back in distance to a 1-turn mile, not facing any other Derby Watch Top 20 prospects, assuming he ends up in the Gotham Stakes. What are your expectations for Free Drop Billy on Saturday?
Well, I mean, Dale Romans, who trains Free Drop Billy, is like turned into Plain Ben Joe's. He's going to find spots for all these 3-year-olds now. And so I think, going into the Fountain of Youth, I was against Free Drop Billy. I was torn about his race in his first start this year on the Holy Bull because while he did take a significant step forward from a buyer figure standpoint, visually speaking, nobody in the Holy Bull ran except for Audible, the winner. And that, I think, includes Free Drop Billy, who finished second in that race. It was an empty field once you got past the winner. And, Free Drop Billy was a slow 2-year-old last year. He did win the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity, but it was a slow race. And I really need to see a lot more from him. And, I selfishly, I hope he runs in the Gotham because he's going to be betting that race, and I'll be looking to take a shot against him.
One thing I did like about Free Drop Billy's first start of the year was I thought he showed a little more tactical speed than we had seen out of him at 2. And that's something that I think can serve him well in these races going forward. But he definitely needs to take a step forward in terms of buyer figures to be considered one of the very top contenders, I think, for this year's Kentucky Derby. Now, as we mentioned, he was cross-entered in the Tampa Bay Derby. The one horse on our list who we know will be in that race is Flame Away, who won the prep for this, the Sam Davis. What do you think of Flame Away?
Well, Flame Away, who is still not a Triple Crown nominee, although I'm sure that'll be taken care of in the upcoming nomination stage. But I thought his race in the Sam Davis was okay. It was an improvement in terms of buyer figures. He's had a lot of races, and he's slowly improving, but he just seems like a very kind of grinding type of horse. He doesn't have to carry his racetrack with him, and that's a benefit. I mean, he runs well on wet racetracks, on synthetics, whatever. That doesn't bother him. He just doesn't inspire me that much. I just think that there are better out there than him, and I just think he's a second-tier prospect at this point.
And the pace of that race should be a lot different than what he had in the Sam Davis, what with the likes of World of Trouble in that race on Saturday in the Tampa Bay Derby. Well, that's our look at the 3 big races for this weekend, the Tampa Bay Derby, the Gotham, and what we think is the race of the week, the San Felipe. Now, you'll also, at drf.com, find a video as Mike and I take a look back at last week's Fountain of Youth Stakes at Gulfstream Park. For Mike Watchmaker, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.